Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Barrios. I am from the IGAN Foundation of America. And every Friday during Donate Life Month, I'll be interviewing a living kidney donor, and they'll be sharing their experience through their process with that. Today, I'll be speaking with Lisa Clark from New Jersey, and she's a direct living kidney donor, and we'll start to share her experience with the donation process. So, Lisa, thank you so much for being here today. I
Hi,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
So yeah, just the first question I generally will kind of start off with is before you even started, getting to the point where you donated a kidney, what was your thought process? What did you know about kidney, or kidney donation? And get to go from there.
Well, I didn't know a lot about living kidney donation, actually. I was signed up as an organ donor, in the event of my death, and that's something that I had expressed to people that I wanted to do. And I knew that living donors were possible for certain organs, but that was pretty much all I knew. I had never really put a lot of thought into it until the situation came up.
Sure.
Where I heard of someone who needed one, and then I thought, well, hey, can I do that? So
Yeah. Okay. And so going into that, so tell me what that process kind of looked like for you. Was it easy? Was it hard? Did you have any, yeah, just tell me kind of how that, when you went into seriously talking to a transplant team and saying, okay, I want to do this. What did that process go for you? Like,
it was actually really easy. So when I first found out about the need, my recipient's sister had made a Facebook page to try to bring attention to the fact that she needed it.
Sure.
And it just said blood type. And I was like, well, that's my blood type. And it had a link to click for more information. And that was directly through the transplant team at the hospital.
Oh, okay.
So when I clicked the link and I went to that, they said that they could mail me a kit to do the initial testing. So they mailed it to my house, and I went to a lab near me.
Yeah.
And they paid for all of that. It's not through my insurance. So they paid for it. I went to the lab, I did the test, and we waited. And then they came back from that screening and they said, and they also had me fill out paperwork. I missed that part. So I had to fill out the paperwork about my history, but it was pretty generic and simple at the start. So that was the first phase. So then they came back, and phase one, they were like, okay, you're screened. If you want to continue, this is the next phase.
Okay.
And that meant lots more blood work and lots more paperwork and all. And so then I said, okay, do I really want to do this? And that was like, you have the chance to change your mind all the way until like the day of. But that was when I really needed to seriously decide, okay, I've gotten through the pre-screening. Do I want to do this?
Right.
And, but and then after that, I actually, it's different for a lot of people, but mine was all in one day. I went into the hospital and we did a whole day of meeting with all of the teams and all of the screening and all of the process. And I just did it all in one day, and then we were done. So
wow, that is fast. Every transplant center does it differently, of course. And for my donor, and speaking with her, I'm a 13-year kidney transplant recipient, and with my donor, she told me it took her from, she started her process as a living donor in like February or March of 2007. And then I got my kidney in June of that year. So it took some time for her to go through it. But it's funny. So the work I do, I work for a transplant center in Kentucky, and we have the way I work. We have 2 transplant centers in our state. The one I work for wasn't where I got my transplant. So I found out, so they run it, they do it differently. And so what we found with my living donor was that it takes a process. There's like 2 or 3 different visits they have to take to go get, like you said you did in one day. There are folks who do it over a period of 2 days or sometimes 3 days. And it can be daunting. So it's just interesting how it can be different for different folks. But
yes.
Okay. So you did that.
Yeah, because I lived in Jersey and the surgery was in New York City.
Sure. Yeah.
So they did everything local to me that they could. So I think I had 2 visits at the local lab. Then I went into the city.
Sure.
And they gave me the option of splitting it up or doing a long day. And I said, let's just do it. Let's just, make a day of it while I'm here. So they gave me that option, but I did stay all day
Mm-hmm.
and met with all of the different teams.
Oh yeah, you meet
And
the surgeons and the social worker and the
yes,
oh yeah,
yeah.
it's all yeah.
Oh yeah, we did all of that. And then from that date, when we got the all clear and it was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it's official now.
Yeah.
They scheduled surgery for 8 days later.
Okay. Wow.
So that was
Yeah,
like
that's quick.
super fast. Yeah, it was super fast. And she
Yeah.
was on dialysis already. So we were really happy about that.
Of course.
But yeah, we were like, well, how soon can you do it? And they were like, well, how soon can you do it?
Yeah.
So I was
Awesome.
like, let's go.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's so cool. Great. So this is a question I've asked everybody, and since I've done this series, and did you have any second thoughts on donating at all? Some people do, some people don't. Just be honest,
Yeah, I didn't actually. And they had prepared me. They did a really good job of preparing me that can happen.
Sure.
And I was in support groups online, and I had heard that it happens with other people.
Yep.
Big thing for me is that I'm a single mom. So everybody was like, well, what if your kids need a kidney? And I'm like, well, I hope somebody gives them one.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
Right now, this person needs one and I can help them. And right now, my kid doesn't need one. So like, I hope that doesn't happen, but
and generally what happens is, I mean, they look at your, I mean, when they tested you, they check to make sure you're fit as a fiddle, of course. And I mean, I've talked to some folks who've said, they make sure that their kiddos, is there any history of kidney disease in your family, or is there, it's a lot of times that's kind of happens. So yeah, that's always something to think about. So, okay, my next couple of questions here, what I got next. So what surprised you the most of donating your kidney? Did anything that caught you off guard, like good or bad, that you were just surprised about after having donated it? Maybe the recovery or whatever, Can you hear me, Lisa? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. And I think that I do a lot of research myself. So I had a pretty good idea of what to expect. If anything, what may have been surprising was that there are so many different ways they can do the surgery itself.
Yeah.
So for me, I had a previous emergency C-section. So it's laparoscopic, but they also used my C-section scar to remove the kidney.
Wow.
So a lot of people, they use like the belly button scar or that sort of thing, but I already had a scar. So he just went through where I already had one. And I was like, that's really cool. That, do that.
Yeah.
And it was, I tell people who, other women who've had C-sections, I say the recovery was easier than that, but about the same.
Sure.
And they went through the same incision, so that would make sense. But, I was walking hours later. I went home the very next day.
Wow.
And it was like 23 hours in the hospital and I was ready to go. I was like, can I go yet? So, that's not everybody's experience, but physically, I didn't think that it was, I think physically I prepared for it to be worse than it was. So that was good. Prepare for the worst. And then it wasn't that bad. So
that's a good way to look at it. I like it. That'd be cool. So when you, I'm going to go a little out of order here, but when you got to the seriousness part of getting tested and stuff, when you told your friends and family, what was their reaction?
For the most part, everybody was supportive. I talked to my kids first because I'm a single mom and there was risk and I wanted to have their support. And then I actually had to fly my mother in from out of state so that she could stay with them.
Of course.
And, so for the most part, everybody was supportive. Just like further out from immediate family, there were a lot of people who they just questioned it. Like, are you sure you want to do that? What about the risk? What if you die? And what'll happen to your kids? Those are good things to think about. But, for me, the benefit was greater than the risk. The risk is really low.
Yes.
I trusted the team. I trusted my own body's health. And so I wouldn't have done it if I actually thought I was going to leave my kids without a mother. But
yeah. There's, facts have shown. Yeah, donating a kidney, is so, it's common. I've talked to many surgeons who are just like, I do these in my sleep, and because it's a very easy procedure, relatively speaking. They know it really well.
Yeah.
Great on that. I appreciate it. So I've been doing some research on, like, I look at stats and research about just the overall, our global, figures of living donation. And I've seen that numbers are just kind of stagnantly saying going down. Not many people are living, there are not many living donors, right? And so it's, the figures are going down and the need is going up. So in your opinion, what do you think could be the cause why people, like, I mean, you decided to do this because of a Facebook post and and went from there. But why do you think people just don't want to do it? Do you have any opinion on that, you think?
I think there are probably two main reasons,
Mm-hmm.
which were things that I got questioned about when I told people what I was doing, or when I tell people now.
Mm-hmm.
One is that a lot of people don't realize you can do that. They
Right.
think the only way to donate is, when you're deceased.
Sure.
So they don't realize that this is an organ that you can, give up if you're healthy.
Right.
And the other would be fear. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are just so afraid of the procedure. What if something goes wrong? Will they be in a lot of pain? Will they miss a lot of work? And that's why I think you see a lot of people who are donors donate to someone close to them, because they need that motivation
Yeah.
to push them. Whereas your average person would say, why would I do an elective surgery if I don't have to? So,
Yep.
you know.
I hear you. I hear on that one. Definitely. Definitely. So as we wrap up, here's the last question. So what would you tell somebody who's thinking about becoming a living kidney donor? What would be like your go-to speech, like to say, hey, like, I'm going to champion for this cause? What would you say?
Well, actually, that's a great question. I do get a lot of people asking me that, and I try to be open with my experience, because I don't mind talking about it and answering all those questions. And I think right off the bat is research,
Uh-huh.
because if you go through the process of applying to be a donor, whether it's to someone you know or someone you don't know, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to question you on how your comfort level with the decision, how much you know about the procedure, what sort of plans you have in place.
Sure.
If you end up missing more work than you planned for, what's your backup plan?
Mm-hmm.
All of these types of things. If you have kids, they're going to want to know who's going to take
Of
care of your
course.
kids.
Of course.
So doing all of your research first and having all of those questions answered. And if you do all of that and you're still like, yeah, I want to do it, then go for it.
I like it. I like it.
So,
Yeah, so true. Definitely.
yeah.
Well, Lisa, I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time. Anything else you want to add, or you have anything you want to add?
No, not really. I mean, I think overall it was a very positive experience. I'm happy that I did it. I'm happy to talk about it. I hope that more people do it.
Sure.
I don't feel like I have any limitations afterwards as a result. And I know that's what people worry about. How will it change me?
Right.
Yeah, I definitely am happy that I did it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate, your gift, giving her a second chance at life. And as a recipient, again, thank you so much. Well, again, everybody, I appreciate Lisa giving us the time. And if you have any more questions, feel free to continue to reach out, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks again, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.